Hello guys, welcome back once again. This is Tolly Bryn, and this is the Joy of Awareness. Today I wanted to go a bit into trauma and my own experiences with trauma. And the reason why I'm thinking about this so much recently is because, and this is going to get really personal, and it's a bit different, I guess, from the ideas I've been talking about until now, which have been mostly focused on physical health. But now I'm going to go a bit more into emotional and mental health. And the reason why I'm thinking about trauma so much is because throughout the years and for all my adult life, really, I've had some really difficult addictive patterns in my life. When I was younger, I dealt with some very mild forms of substance addictions. I was drinking a lot, and I started smoking, and I started using weed. Although I've stopped all of that for the last 4 or 5 years, apart from the occasional glass of wine or a beer every now and then. But even that, like in the last 3 months or so, I guess, I haven't even had a drink. So I've managed to stay clear of that very well. But what I feel right now like a reticence to actually start talking about this. It's difficult to admit. I've dealt with porn addiction for a long time, and it is difficult to talk about because it feels shameful, and it is in some sense quite shameful to feel like your sexuality is kind of broken, and it's been hijacked by something as absolutely despicable as the porn industry. But recently I've been working a lot through my own trauma and kind of facing some traumatic experiences of the past, which I haven't ever actually truly dealt with. The biggest of these is my relationship with my father. Now, I guess I won't go into all of the details in there, but to suffice it to say, when I was about 7 years old, my father left my mother, left his family, came out of the closet as a gay man, became very flamboyantly gay for a few years before kind of withdrawing from that whole thing later on. And not only that, but he sort of began to neglect his children, and he started to try to get out of meeting us. And my mother told me about this quite recently, in fact, that it was supposed to be like every other weekend, every second weekend, we were supposed to go over and stay at his place. And every time, without fail, he would have some excuse, like, yeah, I can't take them now, like, I don't have any money, or I just don't have the time, or I'm out of town, or whatever it was. Obviously didn't want to see us. And it wasn't until she actually just said to him, like, yeah, you'll just have to tell them that yourself, because they're really upset and they want to see their dad. And then he was like, okay, I'll take them. And he would take us at that time. This is when I was around 7 or 8, so that's, I guess, 1999 or 2000, 98 to 99, I guess. He'd take us to his place, and he was 38 years old at the time, and he was seeing an 18-year-old man. And yeah, he would take us to their place, and like, even thinking about it makes me sick now. It's just like they were like playing like tongue games and kind of French kissing in front of me when I was just tiny. And it was just so confusing, and like I'm not saying it disgusts me because I have anything against people being gay, and like, no, absolutely not. That's just their personal choice. What I'm saying is, putting a child like a small child, and it was actually the two of us, me and my sister, who was even younger, and thankfully doesn't remember most of this. But taking a child and putting them in that situation just messes you up. Unfortunately, like I'm not going to try and be PC about this. This is just, it messed up my sense of masculinity. It messed up my sense of sexuality, and then growing up without a strong father figure just really messed with my confidence and ruined my self-esteem. Then later on, growing up with him, it was always just kind of like, you know, he wasn't really up for it, and he didn't really have the energy or motivation to actually have kids, apparently. So whenever we went to his place, he'd just shut us up with a movie and some candy, and then go and do his thing, kind of. And that's how I remember it. And now, as an adult, the relationship has been very stilted. He is incredibly narcissistic and talks almost solely about himself and his interests. And especially now in the last few years, it's just become so apparent to me how little interest he actually has in his children. Like every time we meet him, which is not often, or every time we hear from him, it's just like he barely asks any questions, barely wants to hear anything about my life or my sister's life, and just focuses on himself. And he's adopted, basically he lives in Ethiopia now. He's adopted 2 or 3 young boys, which it's kind of weird in itself, I guess. These young boys, they're like 17, 18 years old, and they're all living with him. And he talks about them as my boys, you know, to his son, who he doesn't actually want to have contact with. And you know, that just makes me feel like garbage, to be honest. And I feel like I felt a lot of shame around this until very recently, and I couldn't really put it into words. I didn't really tell anybody about it until I just had enough. And I wrote him a letter. I sent it to him, and it was just like, you know, F you bastard. Like, really, you're an absolute idiot. You've treated me like I don't know what for so long. Treated me like absolute shit. Definitely. Like, sorry. I was trying not to swear for monetization stuff, but I don't really care. Like, I'm not going to monetize this anyway. I'm not going to put advertising on this at any time. So might as well swear. Like, you fucking bastard. I just don't like. I don't want to have you in my life anymore. And this is what I said. And the reply that I got was more or less, yeah, I'm probably not gonna change at this age. Might as well just learn to deal with this. And yeah, I've got a new family here in Ethiopia, and you'll have to learn to deal with that too. And yeah, I know sometimes I'm pretty self-absorbed, but you don't know how I feel, and you make me feel like that. And I was just like, man, just take responsibility for your actions once in your life. And this is a guy who has many times explained to me his philosophy of lack of free will, like that the human beings don't actually have free will, that we're just programmed, like almost automatons, just kind of going through life following our program, and whatever we do is just because we've been programmed that way, and there's nobody bears any responsibility for anything, really. And that's, you know, that's how he lives his life. That's how he lives his life. But on the flip side, I feel way better after I sent that to him, and I haven't replied to him, and I don't know if I will. I don't know if I'll keep any contact with him. I really don't want to talk to him anymore. I don't want to have him in my life. He gives me absolutely nothing, and just ruins my self-esteem every time I meet him. At the same time, it is difficult to make a decision to cut a parent out of your life, and it's not something that I'm going to do flippantly. It's something that I really need to put a lot of thought into. So yeah, I'm going to be careful about that. Whew, wow, I feel like I really ranted there. Got pretty deep into some of what I've been talking about. On to my next issue here. Well, it's not another issue. It's very interconnected. In fact, these addictive and highly destructive patterns that I have been dealing with throughout my life, especially when it comes to the porn addiction, is highly connected to this in particular, but also the fallout from my mother and father breaking up and me growing up with a single mother. By the way, sorry if I'm really nasal. I have the flu, so I'm kind of out of it, and also if I'm acting stupid or something, it's because of that. I have a bit of brain fog and my nose is stuffy. I feel kind of like an imposter syndrome because I've been talking about health so long, and like I said in my last video, I was just like kind of pissed that I got sick. I felt almost invincible. I felt like I couldn't get sick anymore because I've been fasting so much and I was eating healthy and all that. And even leading up to me getting the flu, I was just feeling so good and so healthy, and just all of a sudden it was just like, I got like a headache and sore throat and stuffy nose and all that stuff. So I've been taking it easy recently. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, growing up in a fatherless home, as many of you probably know, is highly detrimental to the is highly detrimental to the growing boy, and I think especially at that age, like I think it was like between 6 and 9 or 10 years old, is the most vulnerable age for any child to have a divorce between his parents. And I feel like I'm first now kind of coming to terms with the damage that it did to me, and not only the intense trauma of the separation itself, but as I said, also the fallout of actually growing up in a broken household. And I think this is a much, much deeper and bigger problem in our entire society than people generally like to admit. I think there's a lot of violence and self-destructive behaviors and just a lot of societal problems that come from men and women growing up in broken households. The pattern seems to be growing up with a single mother, and I think that is highly detrimental to both men and women growing up. Women need a father figure just as much as men do. As obviously we need a mother figure as well. Like, I'm not making light of that, but we do need both of these role models in our lives to grow up in a healthy way. I've figured out that I've been seeking out behaviors and even substances sometimes that can help me numb the feelings of inadequacy and of just not fitting in throughout my life. And I feel like the more I'm getting aware of this, the more I'm becoming conscious of the effects that this has had in my life, the better I'm getting, the more I'm becoming able to stop these behaviors as they arise. And I feel like that is an incredibly important milestone in my life. I don't really know where I wanted to go with this video. I just kind of wanted to talk about what I've been thinking about around trauma, and why I think it's so important to actually face it. Just face it. Like, really, that's what I've found now. I went through NoFap so many times, like going on the forum and just like, I made it 18 days and then I relapsed and I just need more willpower and all that. But a real addiction is more than just physical addiction. Like, I think an emotionally and mentally healthy person can can use heroin or can use meth and then quit it cold turkey as soon as they realize the harms that they're doing to their body. Like it'll be difficult, they'll have physical withdrawals, but they will be able to do it. But a true addiction, addiction tied into trauma, I think cannot be broken in that way. It's not a question of just stay away from it as long as you can, and the physical addiction will be broken, and you won't seek it out anymore. It's not like that. It's, you need to get to the root of the problem itself, the root of the addictive behavior. And even within my own mind, I've started labeling my addictive tendencies as self-harm, because that is what they are. I know the incredible dangers of pornography, what effects it has on my brain, on my ability to communicate with women and with men as well, just to interact and connect with other people in general. The way it makes me objectify both men and women in my life just ruins my confidence and fills me with shame and all that stuff. Like, all of this is clear and something that it is becoming more and more apparent and more openly discussed, these terrifying effects of pornography, and I think it's only getting worse, really. It's getting more and more high def, faster and faster internet, more and more extreme, and in many ways it's just absolutely disgusting, not to mention the horrifying accounts of many of the people who actually work within the industry. There's so much violence and so much coercion in there that it's absolutely horrifying, and knowing about that fills me with even more shame whenever I do fall into those patterns. And I'm trying to keep it real here. I don't have the answer to this, at least not yet. I feel like I'm making progress. I feel like I am becoming more aware, and I do believe that awareness and expanded consciousness is the key to overcoming this. The question is simply where to direct that attention. And I feel like I've been directing that attention in the wrong direction for a long time. And maybe now, finally, I've found the arrow, the marker that's pointing me in finally the right direction. We'll see, and I'll keep you updated on this. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of thinking and a lot of frustration that goes with it, and working through these traumatic issues is incredibly triggering in itself. So I've had a lot of setbacks recently. I felt I had been doing well for a while, and as I started working in a deeper way with these traumatic experiences, I found myself just kind of falling deeper and deeper into the pit. But I do also, at the same time, feel that getting this stuff out into the open, out into the light, out of the darkness, I've been talking to a couple of buddies of mine about this stuff, making this video, sending that letter to my dad, just like getting the shame out onto the surface and out of my heart and my mind. But yeah, I think I'll just say this to end this video. If you're dealing with any kind of addiction, and especially if you're dealing with something akin to porn addiction or sex addiction, as I am, and you've been getting stuck in this cycle of relapse after relapse after relapse, even as you become more and more aware of the harms that you're doing to yourself, I think it's time to really take a deeper dive and try to figure out what exactly it is that is going on within. What is it that is pushing you towards this? And I guarantee that it is not just your dopamine is out of whack and you need to, take a reboot for 90 days and you'll be better. Like, it's not like that. It really isn't. Obviously, staying away from porn is incredibly good, and if you can do that, do it. Like as long as you can, just stay away from that stuff. I'm trying my best to do that as well, but at the same time, staying away from it is not the answer. You want to get to the point where it has no appeal to you anymore, that it is no, that you see it's not the answer that you're looking for, that even if an urge comes up, it's just like, no, I'm not gonna use that, I'm not gonna look at that, that's disgusting. You want to get to that place where it's just no longer a concern of yours. And I think it is possible to get there. I've spoken to and seen videos from other people who have been able to break this addiction once and for all, and I hope to join them, and I hope you will too. If anybody wants to talk to me about this, just not as some guru or as some coach or whatever, just like a person dealing with addiction, talking to another person dealing with addiction. If you want to do that, I'm open for like a one-on-one, or just emailing or messaging or something. Just leave me a comment down below and we'll figure something out. Otherwise, you can check out my book, Health Simplified. That's on Amazon. I'll leave the link down below. It's really an awesome book, and it's short. It's like 177 pages, I think. Amazon marks it at that. It's short and concise, and it goes deeply into the way fittingly, like as I'm talking about trauma here, the way I dealt with and healed my own physical trauma that I had inflicted upon myself through pharmaceutical drugs throughout the years. I was dealing with all kinds of chronic illness and autoimmune issues that I healed through fasting and a very simple diet, along with prayer and kind of getting into touch with the divine. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, check out my book. It's only like $5, I think, if I remember correctly. So it's cheap and it's short and it's easy to understand, and you will get some insights in there and it will help you. Finally, check out my website, joyofawareness.com, where I have quite a few articles that you'll probably enjoy. Throughout like a range of topics, there's all kinds of things that I like to talk about and that I'm interested in, but in essence, we're talking about universal principles of health. Be that mental, physical, financial, emotional, social health, like whatever it is, you'll find it there. Otherwise, just like and subscribe. Send me some love, please. Leave some comments down below if you want me to talk about anything in specific, or if you want to talk to me directly. I'm open to that as well, as I already mentioned. So we'll do some more videos in the future on this topic. I feel like this is having realized what it takes to get perfect or to achieve perfect physical health. I feel like this is my next frontier, trying to approach at least perfect mental and emotional health, healing the trauma that has held me back for so long, and coming out on the other side as a much more stable and healthy, productive human being, and happy as well. I like being happy. So I hope to see you next time. Peace.